Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Alex English Studio, the place where learning English becomes practical, confident, and enjoyable. I'm your host, Alex, and I'm really happy you're here with us today.
And I'm Maya. If you're learning English but sometimes feel nervous, shy, or afraid to speak, then this episode is definitely for you.
That's right. Today, we're talking about something that almost every English learner experiences at some point, the fear of speaking English. Many learners understand English quite well. They can read articles, watch videos, and understand conversations. But when it's time to actually speak, they suddenly feel nervous.
Yes, that happens to me sometimes. I might know the words in my mind, but when I try to say them out loud, I start thinking too much.
Exactly. And that feeling is very common. In fact, millions of English learners around the world experience the same challenge. In today's episode, we'll explore why learners feel afraid to speak English, the psychology behind speaking anxiety, practical techniques to overcome fear, and how to build real speaking confidence step by step. Before we begin, let's take a quick moment to support the channel. Like this video if you want to become more confident speaking English. Subscribe to Alex English Studio for weekly English learning episodes, and share this video with a friend who is learning English.
And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss our new episodes.
All right, Maya. Let's start with a very important question. Why are so many learners afraid to speak English? Maya, when you feel nervous speaking English, what is the first thought that usually appears in your mind?
Honestly, the first thing I think about is making mistakes. I worry that my grammar might be wrong or that I might pronounce something incorrectly.
That's exactly the most common fear among English learners, fear of making mistakes. Many learners believe they must speak English perfectly before they can speak confidently. But the truth is, perfection is not necessary for communication.
That makes sense. When people talk in their native language, they also make mistakes sometimes.
Exactly. Even native speakers make grammar mistakes, repeat words, or pause while thinking. Language is not about perfection, it's about communication. When you speak English, your goal is simply to share ideas and understand others.
So mistakes are actually part of the learning process.
Yes, absolutely. Think about how children learn their first language. They make thousands of mistakes while learning to speak, but those mistakes help their brain understand how the language works. The same process happens when adults learn English. Now let's talk about something interesting, the psychology behind speaking anxiety. When you speak a new language, your brain experiences something called performance pressure. Your mind suddenly becomes very active and starts asking questions like, what if I say the wrong word? What if people don't understand me? What if they laugh at me?
Yes, those thoughts definitely appear in my mind sometimes.
And when those thoughts appear, your brain becomes nervous. Your heart might beat faster, you might feel uncomfortable, and your mind might suddenly forget words you already know. This is a normal psychological reaction.
So the fear is more about our thoughts than our actual ability?
Exactly. In many situations, learners know enough English to communicate, but their fear and self-doubt stop them from speaking. Another important thing to remember is this. Most people are not judging you as much as you think. In fact, many people respect and admire those who try to speak a new language. One of the best ways to overcome speaking fear is to start with small speaking practice. Many learners try to jump immediately into long conversations, but that can feel overwhelming. Instead, begin with short and simple sentences.
Can you give some examples?
Of course, you can practice sentences like, I'm drinking coffee right now. Today, I worked on my English practice. Tomorrow, I plan to study vocabulary. These simple sentences help your brain become comfortable producing English.
So the goal is not complexity, it's consistency.
Exactly. Speaking a little every day is much more powerful than speaking a lot once a week. Over time, your brain begins to treat English as a natural communication tool instead of something stressful. Another powerful technique is speaking to yourself in English. Some learners feel strange about this idea, but it's actually very effective.
How does speaking to yourself help?
It removes the pressure of speaking in front of other people. When you speak to yourself, you can practice freely without worrying about mistakes. You can talk about things like your daily routine, your work or studies, your hobbies, your future goals. For example, you might say, "Today I woke up early and went for a walk," or "I'm planning to watch a movie tonight."
That sounds like a simple but useful exercise.
Yes, and you can also record your voice. When you listen to your recordings later, you'll notice your pronunciation, your speeding speed, your sentence structure. This helps you improve naturally. Listening also plays a very important role in speaking confidence. Many learners focus only on grammar or vocabulary, but listening helps your brain understand how English actually sounds in real conversations.
So listening helps us absorb natural language patterns.
Exactly. When you listen regularly to English podcasts, videos, or conversations, your brain begins to recognize natural sentence structures, common phrases, everyday expressions. Eventually, those patterns become part of your own speaking. Another helpful strategy is finding safe environments for speaking practice. This means practicing English with people who are supportive and patient. For example, language learning groups, online speaking partners, or friends who are also learning English.
That probably reduces the pressure of speaking.
Exactly. When you practice with supportive people, mistakes become part of the learning process rather than something embarrassing. A comfortable environment allows learners to experiment with language and improve naturally. Confidence doesn't appear suddenly. It grows through repeated experience. At first, you might feel nervous saying one sentence. Later, you can have a short conversation. Eventually, you can discuss ideas, share opinions, and speak freely.
So confidence develops gradually through practice.
Exactly. Every time you speak English, your brain becomes a little more comfortable. Over time, the fear disappears and communication becomes natural. Let's summarize today's episode. To break the fear of speaking English, accept that mistakes are part of learning. Start with small speaking exercises. Practice speaking to yourself. Listen to English regularly. Find supportive speaking environments. Build confidence step by step.
This episode really helped me realize that fear is normal, but it can definitely be overcome with practice.
Exactly. The most important step is simply starting to speak. If this episode helped you, like this video, subscribe to Alex English Studio, and share this episode with someone learning English.
And comment below, what makes you nervous when speaking English?
In our next episode, we'll talk about learning English as an adult, what works. Until then, keep practicing, keep speaking, and remember, confidence grows every time you use English.